Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Top Workplaces, brought to you by San Antonio Express News and SA Inc. We will begin the show shortly. Please welcome Mark Medici, publisher of the San Antonio Express News.
Hey everybody, Mark Medici here. Welcome to the 2021 San Antonio Express News Top Workplaces. We have a great agenda for you today. Over 100 companies were nominated this year. That is just fantastic. While we wish we were with you in person, we have a great agenda for you today, including unveiling the top 5 businesses in the large, medium, and small business categories of San Antonio, including crowning the winner in each one of those categories. It's another wonky year. Like I said, we hope that we're with you again next year, but we're so happy to be with you virtually and celebrate your success. To be nominated, it means that you take care of your employees and your employees take care of you. That's what we like to see in San Antonio. Have a great event, and congratulations to every business that was nominated.
Please welcome Kate Weber, Chief Revenue Officer of the San Antonio Express News.
Mark, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us to celebrate your accomplishments as you've created great cultures from which your employees can thrive. And to me, that's so important for each one of the folks who work within your companies to feel that they're part of a greater mission, that they're supported, and they're a part of a culture that they really believe in. I'm very excited to be able to recognize over 100 companies today that have set that tone for their own employee bases. Shortly within the program, we'll also have the opportunity to hear from Jenna Saucedo-Herrera. Jenna and her work with greater SATX really creates a lens from which we could all benefit to view through. Jenna works with companies, with their employee bases, and with our economy as a whole to really bring us together to understand areas in which we can improve so that we can all together move San Antonio forward. So I'm very excited to be able to have her be a part of this program. And to our sponsors, thank you so much for your support, because without you, this program would not be as impactful as I believe it is today.
The Express News and SA Inc. would like to thank all of our sponsors. Without you, programs like this would not be possible. Congratulations to all the top workplaces in San Antonio. Please welcome Jenna Saucedo-Herrera, President and Chief Executive Officer at Greater SATX.
Good afternoon and congratulations. I am so honored and privileged to be here with you today to celebrate your recognition as San Antonio's top places to work. Thank you to Mark and Kate and the Express News for the invitation to participate today, albeit virtually. I sure wish I could be there in person with you to celebrate, but we're celebrating nonetheless. I was preparing for this brief presentation today, and I was thinking through, what specifically I would discuss with you. And I thought I'd keep it brief, and I thought I'd keep it real with you. And so permission, even though you can't respond to me, permission to be very real and authentic with you today when I talk through some of what's going well for us in our community, and you're driving a lot of that. And then also some areas where I think we need some work as a community. And I hope that you will continue to work with us there as well. Let me start by explaining who I am, why I'm here, and what I do. I have the privilege of leading Greater SATX, and we are a regional economic partnership that is focused on one simple mission, and that mission is jobs. We exist to recruit jobs, add jobs, keep jobs, grow jobs here in the San Antonio region. So we represent the 8-county MSA. And again, we are focused on all things jobs. We were founded by the business community over 45 years ago, specifically for business and to grow business. And fast forward to today, and that is exactly what we're doing. Although we have evolved drastically as an organization, our mission has remained the same. Now, you might have recently read in the Express News that we underwent a significant rebrand. So we were formerly known as the San Antonio Economic Development Foundation, and today we are Greater SATX. And it's interesting because some people, when they hear that rebrand, they think that Greater SATX is a regional designation, a geographical designation, because we've evolved from just solely representing San Antonio to now representing the 8-county MSA. But it's actually not that. In fact, SATX, we believe, is the regional designation. It represents organically San Antonio. It also represents an opportunity to be the moniker for San Antonio and Austin as the mega region. And so we're leaning into that, of course, with SA First. But the name is really all about the colon. The colon is kind of the superstar of the mark. And that's because what follows a colon is summation, right? It's action oriented, if you will. And so if SATX is who we are and the product that we are selling, we want SATX to be greater. So that's why we rebranded ourselves, Greater SATX. To do that, you've got to start with saying, well, we are great. We're an amazing community. It's why I live here. I'm raising my family here. It's why each of you live here and you operate your businesses here. But I think we could all agree that we can be greater. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time on that. As an organization, we worked with many of you here today. I understand we've got almost 100 folks that are being honored and recognized today. We worked with several of you to raise a mirror up and look into that mirror and say, what are we doing well as a community and what do we need to do better? And at the end of the day, it boiled down to a couple of areas of focus. Even prior to the pandemic, and I'm certainly not proud of this, but prior to the pandemic, San Antonio was one of the most income segregated communities in the country. Let that sit with you for a little bit. And the pandemic, by the way, only exacerbated that challenge. We were also, when you think about our job, which is to add jobs and or recruit companies to the market, one of our biggest challenges there was our educational attainment or lack thereof. And so we had some, and those, by the way, those are directly related, but we had some of those very real issues even prior to the pandemic that again have just been exacerbated or made worse. And that's what we're dealing with today. And so before I dive into the detail here about what we can continue to do together, I want to just say thank you. I want to say thank you to each of you for what you're doing for your employees and for this community. I can only imagine what your corporate responsibility functions look like and what your internal culture programs look like to be recognized and honored with such a prestigious award, like being a top place to work in San Antonio. So thank you for that, because you are really making the difference. I'm disappointed when I hear folks talk about kind of the us versus them dynamic of the quote unquote business community and then everybody else or San Antonio residents. And I don't think that's right. I think what makes San Antonio different is our ability to come together around common causes, our ability to come together to build a greater San Antonio. And so I would present the notion to you that we are all in the business of economic mobility. What you all do by providing good jobs with good wages and access to benefits and healthcare for San Antonians can and does break down generational cycles of poverty. So jobs, right? Access to jobs, or even further upstream, access to education. That's what changes the dynamic for a lot of San Antonians. That's what will operationally move the needle as it relates to both educational attainment and ending the income segregation that exists in San Antonio. And I'll take it a step further and say that what you all are doing to focus on San Antonians, and specifically Black and Brown San Antonians, will move the needle on racial equity as well and advance racial justice. So again, we have issues in San Antonio, but what you all are doing to provide jobs and to provide for your employees and their families, that is what's driving economic mobility. And it is truly about the comprehensive community. It is not about one portion of the community and another. It's not about academia and business and military. It's not about politics. It is really about moving and advancing our community. And by providing jobs, by providing good jobs and being great corporate citizens, you all are advancing economic mobility. You all are advancing racial equality in San Antonio. So thank you so much for that. Going back to that assessment where I said we kind of held up a mirror to our face and really looked at our challenges in San Antonio, one of the biggest mindset shifts for us was that, we really needed to stop complaining about some of these challenges, and we needed to shift to actually thinking through solutions and being a part of the solution. And so you'll hear me talk a lot about that as I engage publicly here locally, or even as I'm pitching San Antonio around the world, because I think for the first time in a long while, the business community is really aligned, right? And we're having these broader conversations about, how can we position all San Antonians for success and really be that rising tide that lifts all boats, right? And so, when we were going through that process and we were determining some of those gaps, we also talked through some of our strengths, like the fact that San Antonio is one of the fastest growing communities in the country by way of population. We have 70 people relocate to San Antonio daily. We also have a good number of retiring veterans that stay in San Antonio, and some that relocate to San Antonio from even outside of market where they were previously stationed. And that population growth is definitely something to be proud of, and it's not experienced even across the country in some locales, and there are countries with declining population rates. And so that is something that we definitely have going well for us. In addition to that, we have a rich culture, and we're also extremely diverse. And when I say diverse, I mean, let's just lean into the reality that we are a majority minority community and that we're almost 60% Hispanic, right? That is amazing. That differentiates us. And again, that is something to be proud of, because we demonstrably represent the future of the state of Texas and the future of the country, right? And I think as a community, we can lean into that a little bit more than we have. I mean, if you put that into perspective, I mean, we are the talent capital for Hispanics around the world, right? And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, as we position ourselves as such, we're going to see companies like yours continue to take advantage of that talent pool, but additional companies that are looking and interested in the market because of those Hispanics in our community. And beyond that, if you think of the pandemic, every single business, every single industry was hit extremely hard. But in San Antonio, we weathered the storm pretty well. In fact, we were ranked 4th in the country for jobs retained during the pandemic. In addition to that, during 2020, we actually increased our 2- and 4-year certifications for Alamo Community Colleges, or our top universities, by 3% when the rest of the country stayed flat. That is another huge indicator that shows our progress. And by the way, we're not just growing random degree completions. We're growing degree completions in target demand occupations. So as we are creating jobs, we are working to fill that pipeline. I say this quite a bit, but we certainly don't have a people problem in San Antonio. I just mentioned how we're growing by way of people by leaps and bounds. And we don't have a jobs problem. We don't have a people problem. We don't have a jobs problem. The challenge is today we have a skills problem, a transferable skill set problem. And so that's why the City of San Antonio is focused on SA Ready to Work. And we're thankful to the entire community for voting to approve that tax reallocation of $30 million to subsidize training and in-demand occupations for San Antonio. And beyond that, we have programs like Alamo Promise and UTSA Bold Promise and Texas A&M where they are removing that financial barrier to entry so that San Antonians can get access to a quality education and ultimately work for quality employers like each of you. So suffice it to say, our economy weathered the storm quite well. Our people are being invested in, ideally to continue to grow them for these demand occupations. And then if you think about the demand occupations, I think we're only going to be poised and positioned for continued growth there. Just take a step back with me and think about the remote work environment right now. So we are significantly growing our cybersecurity ecosystem. In fact, we boast the largest concentration of cybersecurity intelligence assets here in San Antonio. And so in this remote work environment, obviously information and data security is that much more important. So cybersecurity will continue to be a growth area for us. Bioscience, think about all the R&D and testing ongoing right now on the heels of this pandemic and what we've done at Texas Biomed and SWERI and UT Health, and we'll continue to do in that space. And then manufacturing is the third industry. And as you think of global supply chains being disrupted more so than they have ever been, of course, that presents an opportunity for us as well as folks contemplate reshoring or nearshoring, or at least getting closer into their respective operations. So I think that if we continue to invest in our people and we continue to focus on telling the story about living in San Antonio and working within those industries that we believe we are competitively positioned to grow in the San Antonio region, that is a recipe for success. Now, getting back to the topic at hand, I want to congratulate and recognize the 95 employers that are here with us this afternoon. Thank you again for what you're doing day in and day out to run your companies here in San Antonio. Thank you for your investment in San Antonio. I know that you can operate your businesses all over the country, and you choose to do that in San Antonio. And I am incredibly grateful to you for doing so. And thank you for investing in your employees. Clearly, you're doing the right thing if you're showing up on a list like a top place to work in San Antonio. And thank you for going above and beyond to support our community and drive economic mobility. I humbly believe that San Antonio is the best place in the world to live. And it's because of employers like you and people like you that are doing what you do day in and day out to invest in our community and invest in our people. Together, we are building a greater San Antonio. Thank you so much.
And now, presenting the top workplace finalists in each category. Top 5, large employer. And the number 1 large employer. Top 5 mid-size employer. And the number 1 mid-size employer. Top 5 small employer. And the number 1 small employer. And now recognizing our special awards. Leadership, large employer. Leadership, mid-size employer. Leadership, small employer. Direction. Managers. New ideas. Doers. Meaningfulness. Values. Clued in senior management. Communication. Appreciation. Work-life flexibility. Training. Benefits. Congratulations to all the top workplaces in San Antonio.